There you go.
Wait, hold on. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so good morning. I'm kind of famous for buying books. I love to read and I buy books, and sometimes I buy.
We can't hear you.
I know
You're
she
on
got
mute.
muted.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay,
There
here
you
we
go.
All right. So what I was saying, I am famous for buying books. I love to read, but I like to hold a book. I like a real book with paper. And so I buy books, most of them I read, but I had bought this little book years ago and have really never read it. And so I was thinking about the title last week for Zoom, and this caught my eye, and I thought, well, I want to talk about creating a charmed life. So I had to read it in order to do a talk on it, and it's a wonderful book. And next week is Eating Disorder Awareness Week, and the theme of it is "Come as You Are. Everyone is welcome." So what is so interesting about this book, and I had no idea until I started reading, when she wrote in the front of it a little bit about her life, is that she is, and her name is Veronica Moran. And what she said is that she had suffered from an eating disorder all of her life. Isn't that amazing?
There you are. There you are.
Hello.
You're there.
Okay. So in reading about her, I realized that she had suffered from an eating disorder for years. And I thought, isn't that a coincidence? That's kind of how God works. Here I was going to do this little talk on a charmed life. Creating a charmed life, and the woman didn't have a charmed life growing up. She lived in wealth. She traveled the world with her parents. She met leaders of states. She was right up there with some of the, met some of the most famous people in the world, and still had low self-esteem, did not feel good about herself. And, her parents were busy, not to fault parents, but her parents were busy. And most of her parenting came from an older woman, and she called her Dee Dee. And this older woman is the one that spoke in to Victoria's life and really taught her the things that show up in this book. And so that's why we have to be real careful and be aware of people that are put in our lives, because and it's about staying conscious and paying attention, because I believe everyone that crosses our paths, we can learn from them and they can learn from us. We can learn, what to do and what not to do. We can learn a lot from people of what not to do, And so I just thought it was interesting how this woman's, when we talk about prosperity, my Lord, she was raised in prosperity. If you equal prosperity to having money, that's all she knew all of her life. And, and she went on to say that, when you live in that kind of wealth, you don't know that you're living in that kind of wealth. That's just normal. Abnormal becomes normal, and she didn't realize until she got grown. But anyway, I want to give her credit for, and anytime I share anything about a book or anything, I always like to give the author credit, because it takes a lot of work. I've written a book. I know the kind of work it takes. And so, and I'm just giving you a little thumbnail sketch of this little powerful book. There's so much good stuff in it. But the good news is that those of us in 12-step programs, we have a plan of action starting at step 1 through step 12 that teaches us how to live a charmed life. And if we continue to practice those principles every day in our life, there's no failure. There's no failure to it. Now, we are blessed. That's why I believe when we go to meetings, we hear people say, I'm a grateful, recovering compulsive overeater, bulimic, alcoholic, whatever. I don't believe any of us are just real grateful for having the disease, but I think we're grateful for finding a way to recover and to treat it. So I just wanted to give that little bit of news about her being having an eating disorder and in recovery. Considering that next week is Eating Disorder Awareness Week. And so I want to give you just a few things about how to live a charmed life and live prosperously. One of the things that she mentioned is follow your heart. Follow your heart. Yes, we must use the brain. We must, we think with the brain, we feel with the heart. That is a 12-inch journey. And that's our job at Shades, is to help folks connect the heart to the brain. Most people are thinkers. They overthink, think, or they're feelers, feel. And so it's about getting a balance in that. But then, find things that gives you a heart connection that you can connect to with. I see my friend T on there. She devoted her entire life to sports and was a program director in the Seattle, not program director, athletic director in the Seattle, in the city of Seattle, and was really in the forefront of helping women athletes. And so she had a heart. That's what I'm talking about. She had a heart for sports because she was a sports person, and she made it her life's work. And when we make something that is in our heart our life's work, there's no failure to it. It may not pay the biggest bucks in the world or whatever, but when we live out of our heart and then we think with our brain and put those two together, there's going to be success. There really is. And it may not be, success in, like I said, a lot of money, but that's not really what prosperity is. It's being able to find what touches you and then being willing to follow your heart. Follow your heart. And I'll just say this, years and years and years ago, I was trying to think this morning how long it was. And from the time I was a kid, I had been searching for answers to help my alcoholic mother, prescription drugs and all. And I would go to any little thing, even as a teenager. And I can't remember how old I was, probably in my 20s or something, I don't know, 19. And I had been out to Odessa, West Texas, visiting my mother. And I noticed in the paper that Dr. Father Martin, who had a treatment center back east, and I didn't know anything about him, but I read that he was going to talk about alcoholism with the family. Well, I was so shy, so bashful, I could hardly call and get a ticket, but nevertheless, I went over there and I listened to him, and he described from his heart what it was like to live in the home of addiction. And that put in my heart the need, the want to. I didn't know what it would all look like, but I knew that I wanted to help children of alcoholics. And that was my goal. I was 18, 19, I don't know how old I was, but that put that spark in my heart. And it sat there for years, and so that's what I'm trying to say. Anything that sparks your heart, we can all get a job. And we do need jobs. And what we tell people, a lot of times people don't want a job, they want a position, they want to start at the top. Just get a job, just get a bad job, whatever, to make a living. But if you have a spark in your heart to really do something, follow that. And God will bless your effort. And then there's a thing about get ample time to shine. Take compliments. Everyone needs their time and to shine, to be noticed. And And, I was always so embarrassed for anybody to pay attention to me at all. But anyway, what this is spend time with people who think that you are splendid. Spend time with people who think you are wonderful. Don't spend your time with people that don't like you and that you're trying to convince to like you. You're wasting your time. Spend time with those who love and adore you, because they will tell you, and then you can tell them. And that is why, then you can both shine. And the thing about, and then that brings us up to 3 is really spend time with people who you enjoy spending time with. Now, if you're in a job that you don't like and you're going to run across people you don't like, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, don't waste your time on spending time with people who you don't really want to spend time with. So anyway, I beat that to death. And then number 4, and this was a big one for me, is celebrate yourself. I never would tell anybody when my birthday was because I was embarrassed. And, she talks about really celebrating our friends, our families, and celebrating ourselves. And to tell people when your birthday's coming up, well, my face is turning red just thinking about how, telling people, and I was speaking of T, I missed my friend T's birthday. She just had a birthday. Happy birthday, T. No, it wasn't. Hers is in August. Excuse me. That was Terry Mann. I'm sorry. Excuse me. But anyway, happy future birthday, T. And then another thing is train people close to you to celebrate you. And express appreciation for yourself and for others. And that's hard to do because, we have that, in 12-step programs, we all learn to get out of ourselves. We don't want to live there in ourselves, but there's a flip to that. We also need to learn to love that self, love ourselves as God loves us. And always never leave an honest compliment unspoken. Love ourselves, but love others and people who cross your paths. If you have an opportunity to compliment them about something, do that. And here I am giving a disclaimer about myself. I'm not bragging on myself, but I'll tell you, this is something that I do when I'm out in public. I don't care what they do, if they open a door for me, if they're nice or not nice in the checkout. I still, if you want to break the ice with someone, give them a compliment, make it honest. Don't make it up, make sure it's honest, but be willing to give compliments. And, when people cross your path. And another thing, number 6, is don't downplay your success. I have a lot. Have downplayed my success because I feel embarrassed. And then I get to thinking about, and I'm embarrassed to tell you this, but I'm going to tell you anyway. I've been honored a lot of, Women of the Year, women, the remarkable woman of the area, remarkable, Woman of the Year. Anyway, I've been honored a lot. And I'm blessed to have been honored a lot. And it was hard for me to even tell anybody that I needed to get comfortable with the success that I've had. I own a small business with my daughter, Christy. And it's not easy to keep any small business running, let alone a treatment center. But by the grace of God and a lot of help from a lot of people, we've been here. This month is our 34th anniversary. We've been here for 34 years, February of 1988. And so they always say if a business is going to fail, it's going to fail in the first 3 years. If you make it past the first 5 years, you have a good chance of making it. And it would be touch and go here for years, but it was never a business to me. It was never a job. It was that heart mission, where that young teenage or older teen, young adult heard Father Martin, and that was put into my heart. And I wanted to help addicts and it grew to addicts, alcoholics, eating disorder people, children, families. So anyway, when you're successful, don't downplay it. And you know, and whether the world notices you or not, celebrate yourself. Take yourself to lunch and make it a nice place with white. I love to go somewhere where I'm served and where there's white tablecloths and black napkins. I prefer the black napkins because then the white doesn't get on the black that I'm usually wearing, you know, and so celebrate yourself. And one of the things that, you know, sponsors are not counselors, but I'll tell you, they can be very wise people. One of the very first sponsors I had in Al-Anon, and that was back in 1968, she just came here, didn't stay here long, and I always thought that God sent her here just for me. I mean, you know, we are a little self-centered, but that woman taught me a lot. And one of the things she had me do, because I was so shy and bashful, she had me to get a babysitter one day, and there was a mall. It was new. Now it's already closed. I mean, it's closed. It's been years ago. But anyway, she said, I want you to go out to Westgate Mall, and I want you to start at one end, and I want you to walk the end of that mall and look, and don't look at anybody. Don't look at anyone in the eye. Don't smile at anyone. I want you to walk all the way down there and just keep your feet on the floor. And that was easy. I mean, that's what I did all the time because I hated to make contact with people because I knew they were going to say, you know, you're fat, you're all that, you know, because I was very obese at that time. And then she said, at the end of that, turn around and I want you to come back and I want you to make contact with everyone that passes you. And I want you to smile at everyone. And guess what? When I did that, every person, there was not one person that did not smile back at me. Now that for a bashful, shy person was a huge assignment. But I would have done anything to get well. I did anything anybody told me to do. And then she gave me another big one, talking about taking yourself out to lunch. She said, I want you to, this was another month, you know, get a babysitter. And I want you to go back to Westgate Mall to White's Cafeteria. And she said, I want you to go at noon. And it was packed. It was always busy. And she said, I want you to get your food. And then I want you to look around and see someone that is sitting by themselves. And you go sit down with them. Ask if you can sit down with them. Oh my God, I nearly threw up just thinking about that assignment. I mean, but I wanted to do it. I mean, I wanted to get better, so I did. And I looked around and there was people sitting by themselves, but I spotted this elderly man. And I was in my early 30s and I spotted this elderly man. I thought, okay, I'll go over there. So I went and asked if I could sit down. And, you know, one of the things I learned from that man is we all have a story and we all want to tell it to someone. And I sat down and I introduced myself and I just said, how are you? And he started talking about his wife that was in the hospital, that was dying from cancer, and that he had not left the hospital for days. His family, the nurses made him leave, and they said, go by yourself, just go out and breathe, go get something to eat. And here I came along and asked to sit by him. And he told me his story, but he also, I'm about to cry thinking about it. He told me their love story, how he met his wife. That man needed to do that. And I needed to hear it. And had that sponsor not given me that assignment, would I have ever done that? Absolutely not. Not this shy person. I never saw the man again. But see, today I'm 79 years old. That's been, and y'all can figure it out, many years ago. And I remember it, and I can get the feeling that I got then. And I thought, I'm a pretty selfish person because I don't smile at people. I don't speak to people. And it wasn't that I didn't want to speak to people. It was that I didn't feel worthy of speaking to anyone. I was had carried so much shame. All right, so that notice yourself, congratulate yourself, send yourself flowers. And if you have received any form of recognition in your life, Do like they do on the, what's that, Academy Awards. Give thanks, appreciation to people. Anyone that has helped you do anything, whether it's a sponsor, whether it's a boss, whether it's a loan officer at a bank, anyone that's helped you in your process, thank them. Thank them. Give them lots of appreciation. And then another thing is, she titled it Take 10. You know, we've heard about, counting to 10. If you get real angry, count to 10 or whatever. But she talks about taking some time off out of our busy day. We talk about that in 12-step programs, to take time of the morning for prayer and meditation. That is so important. Take time to make conscious contact with God before we make conscious contact with people. Don't get so busy that you can't afford because we can't afford to miss that private time, even 10 minutes of rest and connection with the God of your understanding. And then I like this is, she called it, don't cry over spilt milk. If the milk is spilt, that is in the past. It's happened. Clean it up. What I always say, you can tell when children live in an alcoholic home and that there's no recovery. What usually, let's say what happens, the mascot gets all around bunches at the breakfast table and cracking jokes and all, and he spills his milk, or she, whatever that little mascot is, spills the milk. The scapegoat will take the blame for it and start screaming and hollering and talking down trash at the kid that spilled the milk. The hero child will get up and try to clean it up, and the lost child will just sink deeper into their chair. But in healthy families, they don't stress over the spilled milk. You clean it up, and that's in the past. It's already happened. And that's what we do a lot of times when we focus on the past. Fear and anxiety is focusing on the future, what hasn't happened yet. Guilt is what has happened in the past. When we feel guilty, it's never about what we haven't done, it's what we did, and we can't forgive ourselves for. So don't fret over the spill milk. Clean it up, whatever the mess is. If it's your mess, clean it up. If you want to see a mess, I could take you back into my setting room where I do my individuals on Thursdays. And I started looking for pictures for when we open shades to do a little Zoom about the opening. Well, I still haven't found them, but I started digging out stuff in those cabinets, and that room is full of clutter. So that's what I get to do, is I get to clean up my mess. I spilled the milk, I'll clean it up. So, but in the process, I'm finding more interesting things in there. One of the things that I'm going to talk about here in a minute that I found was my old envelopes. When I came home from treatment for my eating disorder and I couldn't use food to fill up that hole in my soul, what I started doing was shopping. And, I had kind of been a shopper before, but nothing like I got into. I went to the mall. It was like I took that card and I charged through there. And in a year's time, I'd run up a pretty big debt. My husband would have paid it off. And I said, absolutely not. I did this, I'll pay it off. And so through a series of events, a woman came to an AA meeting and she talked about getting out of debt and how she used how to get out the book, How to Get Out of Debt and Live Prosperously. And I bought the book and I used those principles and I started Debtors Anonymous. And I'll tell you, I absolutely got out of it. So anyway, what I was going to say, I've often wondered where I put that. What I did is I made envelopes for everything I was paid. Anyway, I had a system and I found that system and I looked at it and I thought, well, bless your heart, you did all of that. You did that. But it was with people's help and God's blessing that I used those simple steps to get myself out of debt. Okay. So another thing is, and we hear this, is don't take yourself so serious. So many people delight in the intensity of anything. They will find out pick out the worst thing to focus on and focus on that. The sky is falling, there'll be henny penny, and respond when it's appropriate, and when it's not, let it go. And another thing is delight in the details. I go shopping with my little friend here, Misty, Tuesdays. And what I enjoy the most about that shopping day is watching her in the details, because what she does, she'll get in mind something that she might want for her house, or maybe a piece of clothing or something. And she details what she wants, and she doesn't settle. She keeps looking and she keeps looking, and we may spend 3 Tuesdays looking for the same thing, but she looks for the details of what she's going to purchase and how that might serve her later on. And if she does buy something and she has slipped up on that detail, that it doesn't really spark that much joy for her, the next Tuesday we'll be taking it back. So delighting in the details, it is really kind of knowing what you want and really waiting for that. Sometimes waiting and looking for and getting the pleasure out of life, and just looking at those small little things, those small little details. I used to have a delightful woman that worked for me. I've had a lot of delightful people that have worked at Shades, but one of them was a gardener, and she would make me the cutest little flower arrangements. And she delighted in flowers. And by the way, my Misty girl does too, but this woman would pick weeds and flowers together and make the most detailed little arrangements, and I would delight in them. So delight in the details. Stay focused and look for what sparks joy in you, and if it doesn't, leave it alone. And that really includes people, places, and things. If you don't delight in the people you're hanging out with, you might want to choose or friends. They might not see you as delightful either. And so another thing is, and I've said this kind of in a roundabout way, cultivate a compassion. A compassion, yeah. Cultivate a passion for something, and find something that almost break your heart if you didn't do it. Get compassionate about something. And that is why, people ask me a lot. I'm out and about in the community and, having lunch places and going to different churches, and they'll ask me, aren't you retired? I'll say, oh, no. I'm working more now than I had. And they said, well, how long are you going to work? And I said, it's not work. It's a passion. It's a mission. I get the greatest joy. This afternoon, Kim will come and walk me over there and sit me down in the group room. And that thrills my soul and my heart. And I'm going to keep doing that. If that ever changes, if I get up someday and I don't want to go over there, I'll know it's time to retire, because I won't have anything to give anybody. But this is not a business for me. It is about a compassion of the heart. So I keep talking about the heart. So anyway, another thing is, I don't know what that is. Okay. And it's, and then treat people, when you have a compassion for one thing, don't overlook people in other areas. Treat everyone you see, if we can, the best we can, with love, dignity, and respect. Everyone needs and deserves our love, dignity, and respect. Okay, and I'm going to open this up in a few minutes, but I've still got a few more things I want to talk about. I did a lot of training for 2 or 3 years in shamanic breath work. And I am a licensed shamanic counselor. Y'all know what that is? It's more, it's kind of not airy fairy. I mean, it's more really heart work. It's about soul work. And we did a lot of training and shadow work. And I just lost my notes here about shadow work. And I don't know if y'all know what shadow is, the shadow work. It's anyway, dance with your shadow, dance with the darkness in you. Dance with that part. It doesn't mean that you want to stay in the darkness, but you're going to learn from that shadow, from the darkness in your life. That, you know, if you're an addict of any sort, you know what I'm talking about. And I'll tell you, we heard a talk last night on the 7 o'clock well, I can't even think this morning. Anyway, y'all know what I'm talking about. Huh? The alumni meeting. I heard one of the best talks that I have heard in years from, and I'm going to say this, he's a very low bottom drug addict alcoholic. And he didn't spare any of the details. He told the details. But what I heard, and I've got cold chills thinking about it, what I heard was so much humility in that man. He talked about how he danced with his shadows and how he kept dancing with the darkness in his life until he found the light. And what the light is, is inside the darkness. And we've got to go in there. You know, that's the reason that we take people back to any form of trauma or any abuse or thing. We take them back into that darkness, because if you don't go in there and look at it and do your grief work and anger work and all over it, you will live in those dark shadows. They will shadow you the rest of your life. And so doing that work and, you know, learning to dance with your shadow, what that means to me is we need to all appreciate our histories, because without our history, we would not be where we are today. You know, I'll tell my story to anyone. It is not a pretty story. It's one of the worst childhoods I've ever heard about. And I'll tell it when it's appropriate, if it'll help people. But I am not that. I'm not my story today. But I had to dance with that story until I got complete with it and could put those dark shadows where they belonged in the past. So, let the light shine on the darkness. And also in this dancing with the shadows, what you're going to find, and I heard this last night from the man, and we are delighting in having this person in treatment, because y'all heard him last night. I'm not breaking anybody's confidentiality, but what he is finding and what we're seeing here is inside all of his darkness, he is finding talents that has been neglected for years. He is finding abandoned dreams that he never allowed himself to dream. He is working with teenagers today with drugs and alcohol. He is here for a tune-up. He's clean and sober. He's a marvelous man in recovery. Now, you can hear me because the shades of folks, people around here, don't get the big head what I'm talking about. But what I love to see low bottom addicts get in recovery, because when they dance with their shadows and they see the light and that light comes out, oh my God, God uses it in ways that are so remarkable. And he's using this man right here in this treatment center. He's a client, but he's teaching all of us a lot. So anyway, don't be afraid to dance with your shadows. And recruit solutions, find solutions to problems. Now, I never knew how to solve a problem in any way, shape, or form until I got to a 12-step program. That's the best problem-solving process. It'll work for any problem that you have. But when you're feeling down, one of the things, particularly in early sobriety, early recovery from an eating disorder, when we're down, we forget the good times. We forget what helped us before. And so make a list, make a conscious list of things you can do when you're down, and place them in different parts of the house, because I'll tell you, we do have a forgetter, and that disease will creep up. It never forgets. The disease is always present right here waiting. It doesn't forget, and it wants to creep back into our thinking. So make a list of things that you can do to tweak that brain when you get in a bad place. And that's called recruiting solutions, So make your list of things, like it could be, which is so obvious for us in 12-step programs: call a sponsor or call a trusted friend. You don't even have to really talk about the problem. Check on them, see how they're doing. And if it's appropriate, talk about what's going on with you. Another thing is go to a funny movie, or find one on Netflix or something, and find a funny movie. I'll tell you, laughter is a gift. That can, it is so healing to find something humorous to laugh about. If it's just yourselves, we all, we're pretty funny people sometimes when we look at how, strange we are. But anyway, another thing is, if you like music, play upbeat, play show tunes, play something upbeat. And then do free flowing writing. And then that leads into do journaling. Keep a journal. And all of that mess in there that I have, I pulled out journal after journal after journal after journal. I may have to burn some of them. I don't know. People could probably blackmail me some of those journals. I don't know. But anyway, free flowing writing. Write. And if it's appropriate, share it with your sponsor. If not, keep it to yourself. But it's good to get it out. And then the last thing I want to talk about is what is prosperity. And prosperity starts in your mind and in your home. And welcome yourself home. Welcome yourself into your home. If you're not living in a home, whether it is a one-room apartment or a 20-room, 20,000-foot mansion, if that's not home for you, if it doesn't feel like home, change it. And I read this and I'm listening to it, because home is where needs to be a reflection of yourself. When people walk into your home, it needs to reflect who you are. And it's not, excuse me, Jackie, but I'm not talking about your profession, but it's really, your home doesn't need to be what a decorator wants you to have. A good decorator takes your dreams and your taste, and then they create from there. But it's not, something that you've read out of a magazine. It comes there again from the heart. And ask yourself, does your home look like me? Or does it look like your family? And I got to laughing. My home looks, I guess, like me, because I've got dolls everywhere. I've got flowers. I've got cute things. And I play that down. People will come in my home and they brag, they'll say, oh, your home is so beautiful. But it's, it's not decorated by a decorator. It's decorated by me. And so I kind of play it down, and I'll say, oh, it's just a little grandmother's house. And I want to start not doing that so much, because I do have a beautiful home. And I do believe that it reflects a lot of me in it. And my husband loved it. And when I started to school, and then I started to work, and I've always been a homemaker, and he was still drinking. And he came to me one day and he said, I don't like what you're doing. I said, what do you mean? He said, you're not putting out fresh flowers anymore. You don't burn candles. And so all those things that I've always done for me, I didn't know that he even liked it. And he said, you just don't do things in the house to make it look like a home like you used to. And that was true. I kept it clean, or I had a housekeeper to clean it. I kept it clean, but it's those added touches that really make a home. So just for that, and make it look like your family. It doesn't have to all look like you. I'll tell you, I've got walls of pictures of, kids when they were in, anyway, all kid pictures, grandkid pictures, great grandkid pictures. They're everywhere. They're in no order, but I love to look at it. I love to look at it. So home is where you are most thoroughly yourself. So go look at your home and see if you can see yourself there. If not, you might want to change it. So talking about prosperity again, prosperity is a state of mind. It's not how much money you have in the bank. It is not what's on the ledger. Prosperity is about fullness of God. Do not limit your prosperity. Don't limit your thinking. Think abundantly. And I've told you all the story of shades, but I always like to tell a little bit of it. Is when I came back from treatment from LA, I knew I wanted to treat all addictions. I had gone a lifetime with a severe eating disorder, sought help everywhere. And I'm not criticizing professionals. They didn't know. Not one person, doctor, therapist, counselor, preacher, minister, anyone that I went to from help, not anyone ever said you have an eating disorder. You're eating yourself to death. They would give me 1,000 calorie diet and say, here, go on this and come back in 30 days and I'll weigh you. It was all about the weight. They didn't know about the bulimia. No one knew that I had an eating disorder. So when I came home and I wrote on the plane home that what I wanted to do was come home and treat eating disorders, create a place where we could treat not only eating disorders, but all addictions. Alcoholism, drug addiction, process addictions, and eating disorders. And by the grace of God, and it is by the grace of God and by the support of my husband and my youngest daughter, Shades of Hope is here today. I had two people behind me, and that was my youngest daughter and my husband, because I think the reason they supported me so much is they were the ones who lived with me toward the end and saw the biggest damage that my eating disorder had done. They lived it with me, and they supported me in treatment, and they supported me in putting in a treatment center. And so I didn't want to do it, I wanted to do it myself. I didn't want my husband's money. We didn't have a lot of money, but I didn't want him to do it. And I won't go into all the story, but I'll tell you, you can't start a business on nothing, but you do. I mean, it does take a little bit of money, but it's, anyway, I'm not the one to tell you how to start a prosperous business right off. I am one to tell you how to go with your heart. And if it's meant to be, whatever that business looks like, or that vocation, or whatever you plan to do, if it's from the heart and you do the footwork, God will bless every effort, every effort, every effort. And whether it is, I had a woman that always wanted to own, she was a knitter, and she wanted to own a knitting shop. And people would laugh at her because it's West Texas. We don't wear a lot of sweaters, but she was a good knitter. Well, she put in a knit shop and a cute little shopping center here and kept it open for 40 years till the day she died. And people flocked there from all surrounding towns to buy the materials, the yarn that she would bring in from all over the world. And it started with a thought in her heart that she wanted a little knit shop. So whatever it is, go for the heart, be willing to do the footwork. God will bless the effort, and there will be prosperity. And prosperity is, like I said, is the fullness of God. That is what prosperity is. So I want to open it up to y'all. I want you to talk about ways that you have prospered, and through your recovery or through your business or whatever way. And I'm going to call on somebody that has never shared, and I'm going to ask George from Kentucky if he would be willing to share with us. I can't remember you sharing with us. Would you share something with us, George?
Sure. Thank you, Tennie. And thank you so much for your talk. And I love these. I've been coming for several months now, and I will be visiting you in a couple of months on an intensive. And so
Really?
yeah.
Ooh, good.
Yeah. And so I'm really excited to meet you and do some work there. And along the lines of these topics, I've been in recovery in AA for, I've been sober going on 12 years. And in my recovery, my first 9 years of recovery, I tried to achieve goals in order to find that prosperity. And so what I come to realize was that everything that I was doing on a day-to-day basis was to make tomorrow better. And that it what I wasn't doing was I wasn't living in the moment, and I wasn't being here, and I wasn't being present. And so as what usually happens, the unmanageability of my life kind of brought me to my knees, and I had to reach out to my higher power and just ask for help. And what was put into the thought into my head and the thought of what I needed to do was that I wasn't of service to anyone. And so I changed my service structure. Burns B is my great grand sponsor, and
Burns.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah. And
oh
so
my.
I made a commitment to him to dedicate myself to service. And what I started to find is when I was doing that on a day-to-day basis, and as I've continued to do that on a day-to-day basis, all of that stuff that I tried to set goals for and to achieve, it just started to show up in my life. Not by me doing it so much as me just doing the next thing, which was helping someone else, and then having that other stuff just show up. And so I love this topic. I think it's so pertinent to what's going on in my life today. And that's all I got. Thanks.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing a great sponsoree of Burns. He taught me a lot, and I look forward to seeing you. And yeah, it's all about getting out of our own way. So thanks, George, and it'll be exciting to get to. I love for people to come to those intensives, for anyone, but I love to get recovering people in there because they come to work, they come for something. So good. I look forward to seeing you. All righty, Taylor. Which Taylor?
I'm not sure.
Which Taylor?
Me,
Taylor
Taylor.
Howell. All righty, there you are.
Hi, Tennie. Good morning.
Good morning.
It was a great talk, and it was funny because when I heard the topic, I was like, oh, I don't know about this, but all right, I'll listen. And it was like, it hit me over the head that all of those things that you talked about, either like I get from my work in recovery or I found through recovery. And, just thinking about like spending time with people who you like or enjoy, and like they like and enjoy you. Like that's what I get from AA meetings. Went to a wonderful women's meeting this morning with some people I haven't been able to see in person in 2 years, just from other meetings. And it was incredible. And training people to celebrate you and celebrating yourself, being in my first year of sobriety, those, marker tokens along the way. And at first I was so uncomfortable because I just was like, I know I'm going to mess this up again. Like, nobody look at me. I can't do this. And, and they were like, no, like, come on, get up there and get it. And so I did. And now it's like, I don't know. And what that gave to me was, I can't even really describe it. It was some kind of self-confidence and this self-worth that I'd been missing for a really long time. And, when I would call somebody with something going on and they'd be like, well, did you drink over it? I was like, no. And they were like, well, that's amazing. Think about you a year ago. Like, and it was like, oh my gosh, that's right. And, even the idea of like, take 10, like pause when agitated or doubtful, do your step 11 in the morning. That's all recovery stuff. Don't cry over spilled milk, will not regret the past or wish to shut the door on it. That's all stuff I've gotten. And even delighting in the details. I was talking to someone yesterday that like, I love packing my son's lunch now. Like, it makes me feel like such a mom that I couldn't be before. And, I put a note in there every day, and he loves the notes. And I know that's on borrowed time because pretty soon it's not going to be cool for your mom to send a note in your lunch, but it's
sending them.
okay. He tells me, he's like, could you lay off the love stuff? Jackson B reads them too, and it's kind of embarrassing.
funny.
So I have to not tell him how amazing he is all the time. And I was thinking about when you're talking about your home, recently like when we got married, we registered for dishes and my ex-husband picked them out. And like, I always hated them. Like they're oversized, they're heavy, they are not pretty. And I just like, every time I get them out, I'm like, oh, these are the worst. Like, and and they'd remind me of him. And so last week I got online and I ordered new dishes and like,
For you.
and it was so silly because I was like, I'm turning into my mother. I'm unreasonably excited about dishes, but like, I don't know, they were pretty and they were mine and I look forward to using them. And like, it's stuff like that that I never would have cared enough about before to do that, really, gives me joy every time I go to get them out of the cabinet. And I'm just really grateful that like, that's the stuff that I can be, grateful and happy about today. And that my life being really structured around recovery is where I find that joy. So I'm just really grateful. And thanks for kind of putting that all together for me today.
Oh, thank you. I love hearing you talk. One of the things I will encourage you to do, even when he gets to be a teenager, keep putting those notes, but make it very simple. My grown kids, many times when we're gathered, for family gatherings or something, they'll bring up those notes and they'll say, oh, I wished I'd kept all those notes you wrote, because there'd be times that they were getting ready to take a test or something would happen and they'd see that little note. So even teenagers love it. Now they won't tell you till they get grown. When they get in their 60s, they'll thank you for it. But anyway, keep doing that. And I'm just so excited to see the progress you've made and living a sober life. And so thanks so much. All righty. Rebecca.
I just wanted to say thank you for the reminder of living in your heart and not in your head. I first heard that when I was in clinic, partly in recovery myself, 4 or 5 years ago now. One of the clients actually that were in the clinic said to me, I was in one of my meltdown moments. She just said, live in your heart, don't live in your head, make decisions from your heart, not from your head. And at that point of time, I didn't understand. I was like, it's not possible right now, but made sense over time.
Yeah. Thank you. Good to see you, Rebecca. Take care of yourself. All righty, who's next? Come on, who's next? Okay, Joseph, what do you know about living a charmed life? You're charming, so there
you go.
Do
Charming.
you know how charming you are?
Yep. It can also be manipulative too. So every defect is an asset.
See, that is spoken like a true addict. A recovering addict. Good for you.
Yeah, I really so much came to mind when you were talking, and other people have mentioned it, but just joy. I say that a lot. I talk about the joy in my life and like true joy. And through recovery, I've learned what joy is. Like I don't know that I recognize the feeling, or to me, joy is not just a feeling, but it's kind of like a state of being. And it exists even for me. It can exist even like in immense pain, and trials and challenges, but there's still so much joy in my life as a result of recovery. And really the last probably 8 or 9 years, once I found Al-Anon after AA, then the joy, it keeps going up. Just kind of on the prosperous aspect, I think about when I got my Al-Anon sponsor, he suggested that he was big on the theory of prosperity. So he suggested, he was like, hey, if you're ready to do this, why don't, we started talking about tithing. And we kind of came up with the structure and I was like, well, what would I give to? He goes, whatever is a source of spiritual growth for you, or spirit, whatever brings you closer to God, whatever organization or mission or whatever it is. And when I started doing that, I was tithing, dollars, $5, $10, $20, and now the numbers are much higher. But my source of, and they're higher because I was giving, and that kind of prosperity and passion that you kind of talked about in life, and the material stuff comes and goes, but the internal growth and the internal wealth is really what it is that motivates me now, and it's all recovery related in some sense. I spend a lot of time volunteering for organizations that help abused and neglected children. That's a passion for me. But I found that through recovery, and addressing my own story, and then I was sitting a couple years ago talking to one of these organizations, and they asked me why I was doing what I was doing, and I said, because we all know the generational impact trauma can have, but I also know the generational impact that love can have, and I found that just through recovery and places like Shades and talks like this. But it's the process, and it goes back to that joy of just learning how to embrace it and see it and recognizing it, and then working it on a daily basis, and it just continues to grow and grow as long as I'm willing to keep putting one foot in front of the other. So it was an amazing topic. Thank you.
Well, I knew you'd have some good stuff to add. Thank you. And I love that you talked about tithing, because I think when we think of the word tithing, we think of church. A lot of people are not active in church or don't belong to church. I like and I know your sponsor, I like what he said. Give to what your heart tells you, that to the cause that that can be the most helpful. And we can't outgive God. There's no way that, and then that was one of the things that I missed. That was one of the topics. So thanks for bringing that up, because it is about giving with a giving spirit, and we never know. We never know when we give something, how it might increase. They may give it to someone, we never know. So thanks so much, Joseph. I can always count on you for coming through. Thanks. All righty. Speaking of giving, I don't know, I'm sure all of y'all know that we have, or the former clients at Shades have a foundation. It's called Hope of Shades Foundation. And they're in the process of doing some reorganization. I mean, they have done some really great things for Shades. And great things means if they can, the last couple of years, they have helped like 3 people come to treatment. They had some people come to help them to come to the intensive, because we get calls every single solitary day, people wanting help, and there's no money. No help and no money. And when I opened the doors here for the first 2 years, I've never turned anyone away for money. And we kept the beds full all of the time. And you can't run a business like that. You have to have money or the doors would close. So I just want to introduce y'all to, and I just found this out yesterday, that we have 2 presidents in our midst. We celebrated President's Day Monday, but I'm celebrating President's Day today. We've got 2 women here that are fabulous and have done a lot for Shades already, and they have agreed to be co-presidents, and that is Cora and that's Jackie, and they are going to be leading. Michelle was the former president. She did a fantastic job. And she's going to stay on the board, and the board members that we have are going to stay on, and they're adding more board members. And I have a joy in my heart. My son, Kelly, has volunteered to be on the Hope of Shades Foundation. And if y'all don't know the miracle of that, I mean, he's always hated Shades in the early days, because it got his mother out of the kitchen. He wanted me in the kitchen like I was. He wanted me to be a homemaker. didn't want me to be a businesswoman, but he's kind of crossed over the line. And I'm very grateful that y'all asked him to serve on the board. And I'm excited for what these two women can do. Do either one of you have anything you want to say? And what they'll be doing, they will not be doing all the work. They're going to be sharing this. And so don't be surprised if you don't get telephone calls from these women, because these women know. I am going to give kudos to Jackie. I asked her 3 years ago if she would help. We needed someone to lead our Tuesday night alumni meeting. It had gone down where there's only 3 or 4 people there. And the leader had, I can't remember, but anyway, we needed a leader. I asked Jackie, she stepped up, and she did that every Tuesday night, missed very few Tuesday nights. On that alumni meeting, and has built it up. I mean, last night I just love to hear people ding and get on the line, get ding, you know. And thank you again, Jackie. And so now she has stepped down, but she's on every meeting so far. And but we've got 2 more good leaders. We've got Sally, we've got Anna, and so that's what it takes, is to spread that out. And so thank you, Jackie. Thank you. And thank you, Cora.
Sure.
And do you have anything you want to say concerning the Hope of Shades Foundation?
I'm just going to say that it's great service, and we're going to do everything we can. I got very blessed to meet you, Jackie, and we work really well together. We connect, and we had a nice talk the other day, a Zoom, and we said we believe in the mission and we want to see it succeed. And together, I think we can do some really good things. We've got a great board that we're putting together, and we're going to do some great work with grants, and we're going to do our very, very best to get an influx of funds into our foundation so that we can help others. And so we love you, Tennie. Love you, Cam, and all the great work you do. And we're very committed. Jackie, I don't want to speak for you, but that's what basically we arrived at after our call.
Thanks, Cora.
Exactly. That's exactly right, Cora. I think Cora and I are very committed. We are passionate about Shades. You know, when we can't help somebody, it hurts my heart when we get requests and we have no money. So our focus is going to be fundraising. Our focus is going to be structuring this foundation to where it's active, and we're out there and we're getting funding through grants and whatever means we can. I mean, we don't want to turn anyone down. This foundation can help save a life, multiple lives, and that's what we want to do. And I know we've helped a few people. I want that to be in the hundreds. I don't want a singular digit of help. I want it to be so big that all those beds are full, because we know in our hearts that everybody across this country and others could benefit from the disease of codependency, of all of the eating disorders, and all of the mental issues that we suffer from. And we want to help. I mean, it hurts my heart when we have to say no to someone. And I want to be on that committee saying yes. And I think in order to do that, Cora and I are going to be very active, and we're going to work our butts off to help see that this happens.
And also, I
that's
think
my goal.
Jackie, what we talked about too is it's having people at Shades that don't have the funds to stay. So they're in treatment for a short period of time, and they really need more time with you folks, and they can't stay. We'd like to be able to help them as well, to be able to continue their treatment.
Absolutely. Everyone on this call knows that they went in, some of us went in for an intensive and ended up staying months because we needed it, you know. I don't know anybody on this call that might say, oh, I didn't expect that. Literally, I thought I'd be gone a week, was gone for 5, you know. It's just one of those.
You know what I think is the beauty of the program and of Shades is that Jackie and I have actually never met, and I can't tell you how close I feel to you, Jackie, just with the work that we've been doing, and we've never met. And so I think, you know, that's the beauty of the connection and the God connection and everything. And so we're committed to service, and we're committed to Shades. So we look forward to doing some really good work.
Thank you. And we all want to be involved, whatever it is, let us know. We'll do our part. All right, one more. Taylor Kay, will you? Yes, Taylor wants to share something, and I'm glad. Come on, Taylor, you're the baby of the group today.
Hey, I just wanted to say really quick about what Jackie said with the whole saving lives thing and stuff. And I'm telling you, y'all can say, Taylor, you're on your pink cloud. You know, it isn't gonna last forever. Listen, I know it's not gonna last forever. I know that. The way I'm feeling right now, living on my pink cloud, riding that shit, is going to be temporary. But I feel great. And I don't think I've ever felt this happy literally in my entire life. And I think that Shades was not only like literally the hardest thing that I ever did in my life, but I think that it was the best thing that I've ever done in my life. And I don't know, I'm really proud of myself for making the choice to go and stay. And I'm just really glad that I got to be a part of y'all's, you know, methodology, what am I trying to say? You know what I mean?
Yes, I do.
But yeah, all I can say is thank you. And I love you guys a lot.
Thank you, Taylor, and thank you for the work that you did here. I could tell you the day that we saw the shift in your brain. And, you know, we do make recommendations to people, and we made recommendations for you to stay in transition, but we saw you after Family Week, day by day by day by day, and came to the conclusion you did not need to stay. You were ready to go. And I want you to look at yourself and what you're doing. And that pink cloud can last. It can last, but it lasts a day at a time. You'll have some down times, but you know, call some of these people on the screen, call Shades. Once you go through Shades, we have you forever. You're just a member of the family. So I'm very proud of you, Taylor, very proud of you. And,
thank you so much.
You warm my heart every time you talk. Thank you.
Thank you.
There's a lot of young people need to hear what you have to say. A lot of young people. Thank you. All righty, folks. Next week being Eating Disorder Awareness Week, I really want to talk about how do people recover from an eating disorder. There was a woman that, anyway, I won't go into it. There's so many ways of people putting out how to lose weight. And, you know, I was reading something this morning and, you know, about you get this coach and you buy the food from her and she gets money from the food, and it's on and on and on and on and on. And I don't know. I thought, you know, the 12-step program is for free. It is for free and for fun. It's one suffering person reaching out to another one. And treatment is the starting gate. That's what treatment is. It gives you a foundation. But recovery takes place when you walk out the doors and you get you know, out there in 12-step programs with other people. So bring your stories next week, and let's talk about what recovery from an eating disorder specific. We'll talk about all, but mainly specifically eating disorders, because I've got some people on here that have some long-term recovery. And so let's talk about it next week, and maybe I can help at least one person get the encouragement to treat their own eating disorder. So that's next week. Have a good rest of the week, and we'll see you on Wednesday. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
Tennie.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Cam.
Bye-bye. Love y'all.
Love all of
Love
you.
you too.
Bye-bye.